am Simon Brault, Director and CEO of the Canada Council for the Arts, and I welcome you to the virtual inauguration of Impostor Cities, Canada's official representation at the 2021 Venice Biennale in Architecture. I am very pleased that despite the ongoing pandemic, we can still gather with one another in this way, from wherever we find ourselves in the world. Impostor Cities is the result of a multifaceted collaboration between educators, architects, critics, and designers. The project is curated by David Theodore of McGill University and presented by Montreal-based architecture and design studio, TBA, spearheaded by Thomas Balaban and Jennifer Thorogood. The Canada Council for the Arts is proud to be the commissioner of Impostor Cities, which represents Canada at the Venice Biennale in Architecture. The exhibition, like the technologies that brings us together for this event, encourages critical thought about the places where we live. In keeping with this, I would like to begin by acknowledging that the land which I am on here in Montreal is the traditional territory of the Ganyene-Aga. The Canada Council for the Arts respects and affirms the inherent and treaty rights of all Indigenous peoples of this land. The Council has and will continue to honor its commitments to Indigenous nations and peoples. Édifices et artifices, c'est une proposition à la fois profonde et ludique. Elle célèbre les villes canadiennes qui prêtent leurs atouts architecturaux pour représenter d'autres villes au cinéma. Elle attire notre attention sur la façon dont notre architecture est présente au monde, par l'entremise du grand écran. L'exposition met aussi en lumière la dissolution de la réalité. Elle nous invite à la véritable authenticité, peu importe qui nous sommes, et elle met l'accent sur ce qui nous unit, malgré toutes nos différences, afin que nous puissions nous connaître pour vrai les uns les autres. Bien que la pandémie ait restreint nos déplacements et nous ait confinés là où nous sommes, les films et les arts en général nous ont encore permis de découvrir d'autres lieux et d'élargir notre vision du monde. La pandémie nous a aussi enseigné à quel point il était urgent de réunir des personnes de tous les horizons dans un esprit de compréhension commune. Il nous incombe de continuer à le faire si nous voulons créer un monde meilleur pour l'avenir. Cela signifie, pour la suite des choses, que les échanges culturels ne doivent pas être l'apanage exclusif de ceux et celles qui ont la possibilité de se rendre physiquement à des événements comme la Biennale de Venise. Ils doivent être offerts et ouverts au plus grand nombre de personnes, où qu'elles se trouvent et quelles que soient leurs conditions et circonstances. C'est le pouvoir de médiation des écrans au service de la démocratisation de l'accès aux arts. Édifices et artifices, dans cette version enrichie, correspond très bien à cette aspiration. The limits imposed on us by the pandemic have indeed forced us to examine all the possibilities for greater and broader connections to happen, including the use of technology for gatherings like this one. Gatherings that many would have considered impossible only a year ago. These new opportunities are promising for cultural diplomacy because they offer ways to bring even greater numbers of people together to get to know one another through the arts and in ways that are much gentler on the environment. I hope this will be one of our great takeaways from this year's celebration of architecture. We must embrace the wide range of possibilities to reach and unite, something we're committed to at the Canada Council for the Arts. In conclusion, I would like to extend my sincere congratulations to TBA and David Theodore and all contributors involved in the production of Impostor Cities. Under very challenging circumstances, they chose innovation and they pushed the boundaries of what is possible to make this exhibition available to the public. On behalf of all of us at Canada Council for the Arts, I would like to thank la Biennale di Venezia, the National Gallery of Canada, and of course, the Embassy of Canada to Italy. Thank you for joining us today. Merci.
Buongiorno a tutti, dear Canadian, Italian and international friends, chers amis de partout dans le monde. Oggi vi parlo da Roma, ma spero di andare presto a Venezia a visitare la Biennale. Canada has proudly exhibited the works of its artists and architects at the Biennale since 1958. However, this year is unique, as we have never undertaken such a feat during a global pandemic. But thanks to the creativity and determination of the Biennale president, Roberto Cecutto, the show will go on. To describe our participation in the Venice Biennale architecture this year, I would use three words: resilience, adaptation, and innovation. Le Conseil des Arts du Canada et TBA ont toute mon admiration. Ils ont fait preuve d'une capacité extraordinaire de s'adapter à la situation dans laquelle nous sommes plongés, en transformant certains éléments du projet pour en faire profiter les visiteurs sur place et à distance. Quelle fierté de voir une présentation aussi innovante. But this is Canada, a dynamic, innovative country, a country that turns challenges into opportunities and which channels our diversity into culture and creativity. I'm extremely grateful to Simon Brault and to the wonderful team at the Canada Council for their dedication to this exciting new project and for ensuring Canada's participation in the 2021 Venice Architecture Biennale. Practicing cultural diplomacy during a pandemic requires resilience and courage, but our pride in showcasing our country and our culture takes priority. Beaucoup d'entre vous savent que la Biennale de Venise est une exposition d'art et d'architecture toujours à l'avant-garde et dont l'excellente renommée n'est plus à faire. Mais peut-être que vous ne saviez pas que le Pavilion du Canada à Venise représente également un monument auprès de 6 000 Canadiens qui ont perdu la vie en Italie pendant la Deuxième Guerre mondiale. Le bâtiment a été commandé par le Canada en utilisant des fonds de réparation des guerres. Notre présence annuelle à la Biennale est donc un geste important pour honorer leur mémoire. In closing, I'd like to thank all of those who have worked so hard to bring this remarkable exhibition to the Biennale. I'll leave it to the architects to explain the concept behind Impostor Cities, but I think the audience will find it pretty cool. After so many months locked in our houses watching films, you will now get a chance to see behind the scenes as we unveil the magic of Canadian architecture and our surreal landscapes. Un saluto a tutti. Speriamo di vederci presto a Venezia. Merci. Thank you.
Hi, Tom. Hi, Jen.
Hi, David.
Hey, David.
It's a little bit strange talking to you like this. Where are you?
We are in a beautiful forest right now. It's very picturesque and quiet and tranquil.
We were supposed to be talking about Impostor Cities, right?
Yep. David, how did the idea of Impostor Cities come about?
I don't remember exactly how we settled on it, but as soon as we had a bunch of choices as to what theme we could take, and you said to people, well, what about Impostor Cities, about how Canada's buildings double as other buildings on screen, the response from people was overwhelming. Usually when I do my research, people don't understand what I'm talking about. But with this question, this theme, everybody seemed to be interested and excited and had their own story they wanted to share. So I knew right away, once we started to talk about it together, that it was worthwhile and would really engage a lot of people.
One of the people that we interviewed, David Cronenberg, had a lot of problems right at the beginning of the interview with the word imposter. He specifically referred to the buildings and the cities in his films as great actors, and in fact Canadian cities being really good actors.
Yeah, so we should sort of think of Toronto as Meryl Streep or Al Pacino or something, not as some bad kind of city.
Or our favorite, the Eiffel Tower.
Oh yeah, put an Eiffel Tower on it.
Put an Eiffel Tower on it.
Montreal becomes Paris pretty quickly.
It does very quickly.
I can say there's a specificity to Canadian architecture in its lack of specificity in a way, or its ability to transform because it comes from so many different influences that allow, if it's framed right or if it's presented in a different light, it really takes on the characteristics of the story that's being told.
Doesn't that in the end say that Canadian architecture is not very good?
Absolutely not. No, I think it's the opposite. That statement reveals how architects have such a hard time with the identity of our buildings, in the sense that we like to think of them as fixed within a certain time, within a certain geography, within a certain political environment even. And so I think it's as important for people experiencing the buildings, whether they're experiencing them physically or on screen, and also super important for us as architects to understand that kind of flexibility and the transformative capacity.
We were talking with Tamara Deverell, a production designer who's worked on several projects filmed in Toronto. She said there's only one alleyway in New York. Toronto's alleys always play New York alleys. So, in her interview, she's saying that she feels, as a filmmaker, that they have created this whole fictional New York that people believe, the dark alleys of New York.
The reasons for filmmakers coming to film in Canada can be quite straightforward in terms of tax advantages and good crews. However, it's more the results of it that we are interested in this project in Impostor Cities. Some of it is real, some of it is fake, and somewhere in all of that, the idea of Impostor Cities comes alive in a very different way.
So what will a visitor see when they walk into the pavilion?
When you come into the pavilion, after you see nothing, then you see something.
How come everything's so green? There's green screens and green wrap. Why this color green?
The green for us is there to act as a chroma key, and it's there to isolate the person who comes into the lobby. But it's also part of the design and part of the space in a way that we made everything green in the lobby, the green floor, green walls, even green windows.
Well, it highlights all of those architectural elements, yeah. It also obviously is a signifier, a recognizable signifier for a movie-making technique in a way too. So that kind of helped to ground the subject matter, both when you approach the pavilion and when you're inside the pavilion, and when you see it online in its different manifestations.
I feel like there's always been this kind of dual aspect to it. There's this digital and physical aspect that's coming together, hopefully correctly.
Yes. The project is composed of three different kind of areas that focus around a central screening room that contains a supercut of different films showing Canadian cities playing other cities.
So the supercut idea has a couple of ways that it works. One is that you, as you say, you have the same building that one day plays Boston, the next day plays New York, the next play plays Moscow.
A supercut is supposed to reveal something about the nature, the identity, or the characteristic of the space.
What the filmmaker is showing is real. It has a reality of its own, and who's to say that that's not what the city is about? As Guy Madden said in his interview, he's had his films vetted by poets, and they say it's 100% true.
David, you always like to say that the global kind of city that we live in on screen is this kind of generic city that's created by Canadian architecture. And I think that is important, especially in this moment where so much of our connection is through that two-dimensional flat screen that is often somewhere else.
The theme of the Biennale, How Will We Live Together, is, of course, one that came after we started the project. But I think in the course of doing the project, one of the ways that we've figured out an answer to that is through collaborations. Especially during the pandemic, we got to work with a lot of people who were also under lockdown like we were, and we may not have had access to them under other conditions. So we've had extensive collaborations with a whole bunch of different people, filmmakers in architecture, screen printers, artists, that have helped to make the exhibition what it is. That's a way to live together.